Good morning, and welcome to the CyBUr Smart Morning News Update. With the always evolving world of cyber threats and defense, you need a source you can trust. FBI retired Special Agent Darren Mott guides you through today's intricate cyber landscape and brings you the latest headlines and insights and what it means to you. Let's dive into today's cyber news.
Hello, friends. It is Thursday, September 7th, 2023. Welcome to the CyBUr Smart Morning News Update. I want to thank everyone who has downloaded and listened so far. Hopefully, you're spreading the word for your friends who are interested in what's going on in the cybersecurity world, because there is a lot of it. I was going through my news sources before the show, and I honestly had to basically close a bunch of tabs because I would have ended up with so many news stories to talk about. This would have ended up being a half-hour, 60-minute podcast, and that's not what we're here for. We're here for a good time, not a long time. I'll stop saying that eventually. So I do have 6 articles. I figure that's probably about the most I can really talk to in any one of these episodes, simply because I want to keep it at least 10 minutes or less, but I haven't got there yet. I've been like 13 minutes. And so I'm trying to find the most important articles just to make the point so you're aware of kind of what's going on. You can certainly go to any host of different sources and get more information on that if you are so inclined. So let's get to our first story. This is from Krebs on Security, Brian Krebs' website, one of the leading cybersecurity news voices in the world, really. And this is from regarding the LastPass breach. So last year, in November of 2022, LastPass, which was a password manager, had a data breach and lost password vaults containing both encrypted and plain text data for more than 25 million users. Since then, there's been a steady trickle of 6-figure cryptocurrency heists, targeting security-conscious people throughout the tech industry that has led some security experts to conclude that crooks likely have succeeded at cracking open some of the stolen LastPass vaults. So there's more to this article. I recommend you read it. The link, again, as always, to all of these articles will be in the show notes. But the point being here is if you are a LastPass customer, whether your data was encrypted or part of the plain text loss, if you have not gone through and gone out and changed your passwords everywhere, you are likely going to become a victim of this particular hacking group that has all of this information. Collectively, it is estimated that individuals who have been victimized by this have lost $35 million worth of cryptocurrency. And the problem is once you lose that cryptocurrency, you're never getting it back ever. So I make this point to say for all data breaches, you should be aware of these data breaches that may impact you directly. Go to haveibeenpwned.com if you want to see if your information was lost in any publicized data breaches. There's certainly data breaches that aren't publicized, so you wouldn't know. But the point being here is password management is key, as is multi-factor authentication. Now, if you're using a cryptocurrency service, say it's a online casino or a banking account or whatever, if they're not offering multi-factor authentication, don't use the site, because at least the multi-factor authentication would give you a little extra protection against these type of hackers who now have your password. So be aware of that. If you're a LastPass user, go on and change passwords. So maybe find a different password manager as well, but that's another story for another day. All right, from darkreading.com, this is the Dark Reading staff reporting Russia's Fancy Bear APT targets Ukrainian energy facility. So I highlighted this one simply because if you've not heard who Fancy Bear is, it's also called APT 28, I believe, Advanced Persistent Threat. And they are a Russian group that was responsible for what is known as the 2016 election interference. They tried to hack the RNC email server. Were not successful, but were successful in hacking the DNC data server because the guy who was running it had a poor pass, got spearphished and gave up the password. So that's pretty awesome. But anyway, so the group is now targeting Ukrainian energy entities, simply because of the war between Russia and Ukraine, right? So in this case, they used phishing emails offering pictures of women to lure its victim into opening a malicious attachment. Well, if you're a bad guy, if you want to be a cyber bad guy, the way to get into systems is to use pornography, obviously. So I'm not saying this was pornography, but obviously this led to that. Someone clicked the link. And this goes all the way back, honestly, to the early 2000s with the Anna Kournikova virus, where you thought you were getting a picture of Anna Kournikova and you clicked on it and you got compromised. So it still works. The common stuff still works. You don't need to spend a lot of money on technology to secure your systems because the easy stuff is still working. So this is why cybersecurity awareness is so important. If you follow me on LinkedIn this whole week, I've been talking about cybersecurity awareness. And if you're a small and medium business owner, how you can incorporate a cybersecurity awareness program for very little cost. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. So check me out on LinkedIn for that. This one, again, dark reading if you want to read more. From the Hacker News, excuse me, I'm about to cough. So this is from no particular author to this other than THN, I guess. 0-day alert. The latest Android patch updates includes a fix for a actively exploited flaw. Sorry, that was a hard for me to read for some reason. So Google has rolled out monthly security patches for Android, or its monthly security patches for Android, to address a number of flaws, including a 0-day bug that it said may have been exploited in the wild. So a 0-day bug essentially is a vulnerability that has been exploited that no one knew about, that has no fix or no capability to protect against it. So it's now no longer a 0-day because they've identified it. It's tracked as CVE 2023-35674. It's a high severity vulnerability, and it provides a case of privilege escalation impacting the Android framework. So if you're an Android user, update your phone today. Actually, update it yesterday if you can, but update it quickly because basically your device is currently vulnerable to these type of attacks. The update will also address 3 other privilege escalation flaws in the framework, and the search giant, is noting that the most severe of these issues could lead to local escalation of privilege with no additional execution privileges needed without any user interaction. Basically meaning if the bad guy is able to exploit the vulnerability, there's nothing you can do to stop it. He will get escalation on your phone and be able to pull information off and do all sorts of bad stuff. So take a look more at that particular article if you're interested at the Hacker News. What you need to do if you're an Android user, update your phone right now. Turn off this podcast, update your Android phone. All right, from Wired.com. This might be my last Wired article for a while because I think this is my last free article from Wired, but it's Andy Greenberg reporting. This is an interesting one. How China demands tech firms reveal hackable flaws in their products. This is an interesting article simply because of the counterintelligence aspect to that. Those who know me know that when I was in the FBI, I worked both cyber crime stuff and counterintelligence stuff, and actually was created the first unit at FBI headquarters that blended those two things together. So this is interesting to me because of what China's doing here. So it's believed some foreign companies are complying, which offers China's spies hints at how to hack those companies' customers. This is craziness, honestly. So from the article, for state-sponsored hacking operations, unpatched vulnerabilities are valuable ammunition, obviously, like 0 days, like the Android one we just talked about. Intelligence agencies and military seize on hackable bugs when they're revealed, exploiting them to carry out their campaigns of espionage or cyber war, or spend millions of dollars to dig up new ones or buy them in secret from the hacker gray market. But for the past 2 years, China has added another approach, basically putting in a law that demands that any network technology business operating in the country hand over known vulnerabilities. So when a company finds a vulnerability in their software, they have to tell China that this is what it is. China will then take it and use that vulnerability to hack the customers of the company. Crazy. Why would you do business in China? I mean, one of the things I say on LinkedIn a lot is China bad. China's bad, people. I mean, now you can argue, hey, the U.S. does the same thing. Yeah, whatever. Okay, well, I'm in the U.S., so the U.S. does not target customers of foreign companies. China does because they want to steal intellectual property and all sorts of stuff. So this is more for awareness more than anything else. Just understand that China is doing these things. They have a long-term plan. They're very patient. So we can see all the stuff about Taiwan and all that stuff, but this hacking stuff is still going on. You need to be aware of it. You need to understand if you're doing business in China that you're going to have to do this, and it's problematic. All right, from theregister.com. Mozilla calls cars from 25 automakers data privacy nightmare on wheels. So here's the question, and this is from Jessica Lyons Hardcastle reporting. Does your vehicle really need to know about your bedroom antics? So what do you mean, you say? Privacy invading data harvesting by smartphones, wearable devices, smart doorbells, and reproductive health apps are well known. But the Mozilla Foundation has found the worst threat to your privacy may be parked in your driveway. The foundation, the Firefox maker, browser makers, netizen rights organization, assessed the privacy policies and practices of 25 automakers and found all failed its customer privacy tests and thereby earned its privacy not included warning label. I recommend you go read more about this because it's very interesting. Because it says, in research published Tuesday, the organization warned the manufacturers may collect and commercially exploit much more than location history, driving habits, in-car browser histories, and musical preferences from today's internet-connected vehicles. Instead, some makers may handle deeply personal data, such as, depending on the privacy policy, sexual activity, immigration status, race, facial recognition, weight, health, and even genetic information. Now, how it gets that, I have absolutely no idea. That would be interesting to know. But somehow, these cars can collect at least some of that information using sensors in the car, microphones, cameras. So if you have sex in your car may be monitoring it, sending it to the automaker, and then the automaker uses that because it has crappy privacy laws. So all that to be said, if you buy a car, and all cars now are pretty much, smart cars, if you will, turn off everything. Make sure you check the privacy warnings and the privacy policies. Turn off everything, turn off the sensors. I mean, obviously Tesla's a little harder to do that because you need those sensors for the thing to drive, but just be aware, these are bad. So you want to protect your privacy. Know that your car is listening. So be careful out there. Again, you can read more about that, links in the show notes. And finally, from Cyber Scoop, cyber professionals say industry urgently needs to confront mental health crisis. So I highlighted this one because I work in this industry. And so I think it's important for people who work in this industry to understand that because of the stress of cybersecurity, mental health is becoming a huge issue. So who's reporting this? This is Tanya Riley reporting. As the coronavirus pandemic swept the U.S. in the early 2020, Pat, a security engineer, had more than just his own health to worry about. He was the lead engineer responsible for protecting vast amounts of data moving between large healthcare organizations to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The toll of working 80-hour weeks wasn't new to Pat, who has been in healthcare security for 7 years, but the responsibility of safeguarding Americans' vital information at such a crucial moment weighed heavily. It burned me out, Pat admitted to Cyber Scoop. It was very hard when you feel like the things you're doing are going to be impacting the availability of healthcare and prioritization decisions. With his employer's approval, Pat eventually took medical leave to cope with the stress. So this is a big problem across all industries, not just the healthcare industry, simply because there is a lack of qualified people in the cybersecurity world. There's like 2 million jobs open in cybersecurity and not enough people to fill it. So the people who are filling it are getting stressed because of all the work they have to do. So if you are in this industry and you are a leader, you have to recognize that from your people and come up with mitigation strategies to deal with this particular rising crisis. It's not going to get any better as we go forward, and you are doing your employees a favor by looking at this. More information again on this article at cyberscoop.com. So again, I thank you for taking the time. That's all the time I have for the news for today. We'll be back tomorrow with anything I might have missed or anything that new that happens during the day today on Thursday. It is the beginning of the NFL season, so I hope you all enjoy that. Sometimes I wish this was a sports podcast so I could talk about football, but that probably wouldn't go well. As always, know that knowledge is protection. If we can understand the threats targeting us, we can assess our risk, proceed wisely. Take a look or listen to my other podcast, the Cyber Guy podcast. I go into interviews with people in the cyber industry and talk other stuff. It's a little more long form. Follow me on LinkedIn if you're so inclined. Again, I thank you so much for taking the time to download and listen. I'm trying to get this to 10 minutes or less. There's just so much news. It's hard to do so. So again, thank you for listening to the CyBUr Smart Morning News Update, a little cyber news with a little bit of education and opinion spun in. Have a great day.
CyBUr Smart Morning News is written and produced by Cyber Guy Productions. Feel free to email thoughts, comments, or suggestions to Darren at thecyberguy.com. Or follow Darren on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/DarrettMott. Thanks for listening.